Vitamin D is a bit of a Goldilocks nutrient. Too little and you're in trouble. Too much and, well, still trouble. The sweet spot? That elusive, just right range that seems to support everything from bone strength to immune defense to cardiovascular health. But here's where it gets interesting and a little unsettling. When it comes to heart disease and mortality, vitamin D follows a U-shaped curve. Both deficiency and excess are associated with higher risk of death. And in the middle lies that narrow zone where your arteries are happier, your inflammation markers are quieter, and your odds of a sudden cardiac plot twist are a little bit lower. Let's break this down, starting with the bottom of the U, the deficiency side. If your blood levels of 25-hydroxyvitamin D, that's the form your doctor measures, fall below about 20 nanograms per milliliter, 15 moles/L, things start to go south fast. Low vitamin D is associated with increased risk of hypertension, heart failure, atrial fibrillation, and coronary artery disease. The mechanisms are multifaceted. Vitamin D helps regulate the renin-angiotensin system, think blood pressure control, supports endothelial function, think smooth blood vessel lining, and dampens inflammation, think fewer cytokine storms. In deficiency, all these systems begin to drift. Arteries stiffen, blood pressure rises, inflammation smolders. Over time, these changes can culminate in higher cardiovascular mortality, especially in older adults or those with chronic illness. Now climb up the curve to the other side, and what do we find? Toxicity? Not quite. The term toxicity is a bit dramatic. True vitamin D toxicity is rare and typically involves prolonged use of megadoses. We're talking 10,000 to 50,000 IU daily for months on end. But subclinical excess is a real thing, and it's subtler. Epidemiological studies have shown that once vitamin D levels start to creep above 50 to 60 nanograms per milliliter, 125 to 115 moles/L, the protective cardiovascular effects may fade, and in some cases, even reverse.
Why?
First, excessive vitamin D increases calcium absorption, which sounds good until you remember that excess calcium doesn't always go to your bones. Sometimes it heads to your arteries. This is especially problematic when vitamin K2 status is low, because K2 is the nutrient that helps shuttle calcium out of soft tissues and into bones. High vitamin D without adequate K2 may inadvertently promote vascular calcification, particularly in people who already have metabolic syndrome, diabetes, or pre-existing heart disease. Second, high-dose vitamin D may suppress parathyroid hormone, PTH, too aggressively. While high PTH is bad for bones and blood pressure, chronically low PTH can impair calcium homeostasis and signal that the body's regulation systems are being artificially overridden, a red flag for long-term stability. So, what's the sweet spot? Most research points to a serum 25-OH D range of 30 to 50 nanograms per milliliter, 75 to 125 moles/L, as optimal for cardiovascular health. In this range, you get the anti-inflammatory, antihypertensive, and endothelial benefits of vitamin D without veering into calcium-loading territory. This is where the risk for cardiovascular mortality appears lowest, and it's the range endorsed by many functional medicine practitioners and increasingly by cautious conventional guidelines. But here's the kicker: your optimal dose isn't static. It depends on your baseline level, sun exposure, skin tone, age, body weight, kidney function, and even your genetics. Hello, vitamin D receptor polymorphisms. A 1,000 IU supplement might raise one person's level by 10 nanograms per milliliter, while barely nudging another's. That's why blindly supplementing based on general advice can backfire, and why monitoring blood levels is essential if you're taking more than a low-maintenance dose. And let's not ignore the common mistake, assuming that more is better because vitamin D is technically a vitamin. It's not. It's a hormone precursor, one that exerts powerful effects on gene expression, immune modulation, and calcium dynamics. Treating it casually is like overclocking your computer without checking for heat management. Yes, it might run faster until it fries. So, what's the take-home? Vitamin D is crucial for cardiovascular health, but it's not a solo act. It needs co-nutrients like K2 and magnesium, careful monitoring, and a realistic respect for its dose-response curve. Deficiency may leave you vulnerable to heart disease and early mortality, but overshooting into supraphysiological territory might do the same by stealth, through calcification, suppressed hormonal regulation, or metabolic imbalance. In the end, the U-shaped curve is more than just a graph. It's a cautionary tale. It reminds us that biological systems thrive on balance, not extremes. And when it comes to protecting your heart with vitamin D, the goal isn't to flood the system. It's to support it thoughtfully and precisely, just enough to tip the odds in your favor, without tipping the scale.